Lemon Amoeba presents
Reaching out into other worlds.
a playtime video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome to another Lemon Amiga gameplay review. This time we'll be taking a look at Deluxe Galaga and 7 other Invaders clones released in the public domain on the Amiga. So the first game we'll take a look at is Amoeba Invaders, which is a Space Invaders clone released in 1991, and this game appeared on the Amiga cover disc number 3 on issue number 3, July 91, and also on Amiga format cover disc number 27 in October of 91. This game was coded by Chris Halsall and the graphics were by Ewan Edwards, and that's their only Amiga game as far as I know. So this game follows the traditional Space Invaders format as pioneered in 1979 by Tomohiro Nishikado for the Taito Corporation. And Space Invaders was really the pioneer which set the whole arcade movement into action. And in just 4 years after its release, it earned $2 billion worldwide. And the arcade machine was the first to use custom hardware, as none of that hardware was available at the time. It also holds the Guinness World Record for the most played game in history, the highest grossing game in history, and the most converted game in history. It single-handedly ended the video game's crash in 1977 after a flood of Pong clones invaded the market, and again it kick-started the industry. Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Zelda and the Mario series, quoted Space Invaders as the game which prompted him to get into the industry in the first place. So massive heritage there for Space Invaders. And so we move on to the next game, which is Attack of the Green Smelly Aliens from Planet 27B/6, or Smelly Aliens as the short title, which appeared on Amiga Power issue 14, disc 14B in June 1992. This game was created, designed and coded by Alex May, again his only game for the Amiga, and this game was written for a competition which appeared in Amiga Power under the title Giz the Job Mate, and this was a competition to win a place, to win a job at Bullfrog. And this game was written in assembly language along with many others which were entered for the competition, and the aim of the game is to blast the invaders, which fly around in a full 360 degrees around our ship, and in order to deal with those we have a shield. By pulling up and down on the joystick we can rotate the shield left and right, anti-clockwise and clockwise, and by holding down left and right we can rotate the ship left and right so that we can fire between the gap in our shields. And the important thing is to soak up the enemy's firepower into those shields and fire in between the gaps for a new wave, and then the game loops around again. One of the best things about this game is definitely the music, coded by Alex May, which is called Strange Is My Name, which is available as a module on the Internet, and which makes use of various sound samples, including from films Batman the Movie, released in 1989, and also the black and white movie Tarantula, released in 1955, is where the sample then expects something that's fiercer, more cruel and deadly than anything that ever walked the earth comes from. And the music in this game certainly makes the game a lot more playable and a lot more enjoyable, and unfortunately Alex did not win the competition with Sentry, but I'm sure you will agree this version of Space Invaders is novel, and a 3D remake of this game would again be excellent. I'm just going to speed the game up a little bit just to show you the levels as they unfold. Sometimes you'll get guys appearing above and below there, and they must be knocked out. They will steadily increase their way towards the player. But yeah, terrific game, excellent and novel as well. So let's move on to our next game. This is Better Dead Than Alien, released in 1988 and published by Elektra. It was designed by Jason Kingsley, who did the graphics, and Jason went on to create Blade Warrior in 1991, Captain Planet, which we've reviewed already in 1991, and a game called Eye of the Storm in 1994, which was a 3D shooter. The game was also coded by John G. Wood, who went on to code the very odd 3D adventure Sleeping God's Lie in 1989 and The Amazing Spider-Man in 1990. And the other coder on this game was Richard Horrocks, who went on to help create Team Yankee 1 and 2 in 1990, 1992, and Pacific Islands, another 3D tank battle game in 1992, and he's also the guy behind Volfid, the Quicks game from 1991. So Better Dead Than Alien uses the mouse to navigate the player around the screen, using the whole of the play area, and as you can see, a number of bosses will also appear between the levels. Anything which flashes green will release a single power-up, and as you can see, these are destructible, and I've already blown away a number of power-ups already, but you can have a number of power-ups including dual ship, auto fire, rapid fire, speed up, different rates of firepower, and there's also an asteroids type game there as well, stuck in the middle of this, so there are lots of variety options on offer. That's if you don't blow away the power-ups yet again, like I'm doing. But controlling this game with the mouse is a unique feature, and even though this is just a step up from the normal Space Invaders clone, there is certainly enough on offer, different varieties of enemies and different firepower to give this thing a novel twist. And even though the graphics are pretty public domain, this game was released in a full price commercial capacity, where it garnered a mixed bag of reviews. Amiga Computing only gave this 48%, Zap gave it 72%, and the One Amiga gave it 81%. So mixed opinions there from the reviewers. I think Better Dead Than Alien is certainly one of those jumping classics, and of course the programmers went on to much bigger and better things with Team Yankee and Captain Planet, that kind of thing. So let's speed this game through to the end and then take a look at our next game, which happens to be Motorola Invaders 2, which was an AGA public domain game released in 1993. This game was designed and coded by a certain Martin Rebus in 93, and he went on to create Pengo in 1994, which was a kind of a bubble bobble type single screen clone with similar ghosts, that kind of thing. The music in the background, you might notice, is a Metallica track called Sad But True, which was released on Metallica's 5th album, titled Metallica, and that's a direct rip of that. And this game is tremendously hard. The player has to avoid all the enemies falling off the screen and clear the screen to get to the next level. I've yet to complete the first level, to be honest, because I've collided with so many enemies, and if you fail you have to go all the way back to the first screen, level 1, and do it all again. So Motorola Invaders there, a pretty neat game, doesn't really make use of the AGA chipset apart from the copper background there, but a unique game, and certainly one to watch out for, particularly if you like dodging lots of aliens falling down from the sky. But let's skip on through. This is the next public domain title we'll take a look at. This is called Mr. Wobbly Legs versus the Invaders from Space. This is yet another compo entry in the Amiga Power Gizzojob competition for the Bullfrog Company. The game was released on Amiga Power cover disc number 10 in Amiga Power issue 10, February 1992. This game was coded by Michael Diskette, very apt name, I'm sure you'll agree, for a software programmer. And Michael Diskette's talents helped him win the Amiga Power competition, and after he joined Bullfrog he released Psycho Santa in 1993, and he went on to help program Syndicate in 1993 for Bullfrog, and went on to help with the AGA conversion of Theme Park as well in 1994. So well worth winning that competition. The first part of the game is very difficult indeed, it has to be said. The player has to first of all flick the switch on the left hand side of the screen, and that will reveal an icon, a collectible, and the player must collect a certain number of those to build himself a ship, and having built the ship he can then climb into that and take on these aliens before they hit the ground. So continuing with that, flick the switch, avoid all the firepower, collect the item, and try and avoid our way back and get to that switch again. It's tremendously difficult to avoid all this firepower and to build up the ship in the first place, but having done so, the player will then go on to the second round, which is the normal invaders round, where they can simply blast the enemies out of the sky, and similarly the enemies will drop down and they will destroy the pyramids there, which act as shields, and a number of motherships will also appear with a watch out sample as well. And the sound you can hear as each enemy fires a missile sounds like Jim to me. Jim as in Jim Plays Games, or Jim as in Captain Kirk on Star Trek, or it could be Chim, or something like that, but I'm sure it sounds like Jim to me. So the aim is to blast these guys away. They will drop quickly. I've speeded this footage up slightly, but they will really drop quickly from the sky, so you have to get in there and blast those before they finish you off. There's two more to get, and lucky there, just trying to get the last one before I die, and unfortunately not. Whenever you die you have to go back, and the levels will alternate between the collecting aspect and the firing mechanism on that game. That's certainly a unique game, and very strange in fact. But that brings us to our next game in the series of public domain titles, namely Pod, and this game can be found on CO Amiga cover disc number 41, released in September 1992 on that cover disc. It's an unofficial conversion of Pod from the Commodore 64. I'm not sure whether Sean Southern actually did this conversion or had a hand in it, but Sean Southern certainly created the original Pod on the Commodore 64 in 1987. And by the time he created this, Sean Southern was already a master on the Commodore 64 scene, having coded Trailblazer in 1986, Hero of the Golden Talisman in 1985, and Kickstart 2 appeared in 1987, along with Operation Fireball. So Sean Southern may have had a hand in this release. The game appeared in 91, around the same time as Supercars 2 and Lotus 2 were hitting the market, and Pod stands for Proof of Destruction from the original conversion, and whoever converted this, they certainly did a good job of it. It received an Amiga Power rating of 3 stars out of 5 in January 1993, and the unique aspect of this game is the Pod vehicle will have to manoeuvre along the grid in order to shoot those guys down. So that's Pod. Let's move on to Blastum, which was released in 1995. This was an F1 licenseware title created by Lee C. Wilson, who went on to create Gonks in 1995. Blastum is another Space Invaders clone, but this time it features some quite professional music and some well-designed graphics there, and the aliens manoeuvre around the screen in a Galaga style, which means they will drop and form into patterns or attack waves, which the player must then knock out. So that advances the formula from the basic Space Invaders genre to resemble something that looks more like Galaga, except in this game the player really will find an odd array of enemies and things which bounce around and balloon down the screen. This game received a massive 87% rating in the one Amiga, in 1995, so certainly recommend that one. But that kind of Galaga clone leads perfectly into the main event. This is the game that you've all been waiting for, Deluxe Galaga. For this review, we'll be taking a look at the AGA version, released in 1995 and created by Norway's Edgar M. Vigdal.
Get ready.
Despite the name Deluxe Galaga, this game was actually based on an old VIC-20 game called Star Battle, according to the author, and he programmed this using the DevPack assembler, and the sound effects were created using a Korg MS-10 analog synthesizer. The main theme of the game is based around Galaga, which was released in 1981 by the Namco Corporation, which was itself based on Galaxian, released in 1979. And Galaga in the arcades received a number of updates, including Galaga 88, Galaga Legions, released in 2008, and Galaga 3D Impact, released in 2011. And the original Galaga was also ported to a myriad of different machines, including the NES, the Atari 7800, the Game Boy, the MSX, the Tandy TRS-80, the N64, the Dreamcast, and the PS1, 2 and 3. I've also had versions of Galaga ported to them. But let's take a look at the main game. The main aspect is to simply shoot down insects or various aliens in the form of insects, using whatever weaponry you have available, and they will give you points. They will also drop a number of items as well, which will give you upgrades and points and cash as well in the form of coins. And there are at least 2 mini-games in Galaga. The first one is a memory maze, which you've seen me trying to negotiate already, the memory station, where the player can match any 2 icons to collect that prize. There is also the meteor storm, and navigating the meteor storm is certainly difficult at the best of times, as we shall see later on. And after every 4 stages, the player will also find this attack wave pattern called the kamikaze wave, and I suppose that's a sub-game. All the player has to do is to shoot those things down, avoid all the firepower, and collect any bonuses they might leave behind before we enter the shop, which appears every 4 levels. So if the player has managed to collect any coins or various elements of cash in the sub-levels or the sub-games, they will be able to buy extra items in the shop. And items start fairly cheaply. The dual shot there is only 100 credits, the triple shot is only 200 credits. So it really is vital to collect that money so that the player can build up their ship and to get the best upgrades. So let's check out a few of the conversions. On the left hand side you can see a version of the original Galaga as seen in the MAME emulator. We can also see Warblade for the PC, which was also coded by Edgar M. Vigdal and released in 2003. It's also available on the iOS and the Mac platform as well. And Galaga 3D is a flash game. You can see there an updated version of Galaga, which you can play live on the internet. And so back to the game. I've just collected a green coin there, which gives us 100 cash, a shield and a money bomb, which could give us any number of cash. The hardest part is just to collect all those coins. You will gain a coin for every alien remaining on the screen when you collect the money bomb. So if there's only 1 or 2 aliens on the screen, you will only get a couple of coins. And if the screen is full of aliens, you can get a whole heap of coins by collecting that token. Each token will appear at complete random, so you never know what upgrades you might pick up. Some of them might be very handy. The shield, the armour and the weaponry upgrades are certainly worth picking up. You can see I'm on triple firepower at the moment, which is certainly much easier to be disposing of those enemies than the ordinary firepower. And let's just get rid of those on the bonus wave as well. Every 8 levels you'll get a bonus wave, and if you manage to get rid of all those enemies you'll get a small bonus, anything up to 10,000 points, which will be doubled if you gain a perfect score. And then we should warp on to the next set of 4 levels if at all possible. At complete random, the player will find the warp will not work, and they will be presented by a screen full of these sub-mothers, and by destroying those you'll gain a colour which adds to the rank marker, which you can see the colours are there. I've gained another orange, I already had the orange colour already. There are 6 colours to pick up, and collecting all 6 will give you a new rank, and the rank scores will also multiply the final score as well. So if you have a number of rank options, the final score will be multiplied when the game quits and the player finds the high score table. Meanwhile, in the shop I'm about to buy this super weapon, which is money well spent, even though that's 500 credits in the bank. That super weapon is very powerful indeed, particularly if the player builds up the number of bullets. The B icons that drop by the enemies will increase the number of bullets the player can fire. Maybe up to 10 or 15 bullets may appear on screen, and collecting those is certainly an advantage. The player will also find S icons, which is an extra speed up, and the player will definitely take benefit from speed ups, particularly when the player manages to find the asteroid field, where a number of speed up tokens are essential to get through that thing. So I've probably picked up 2 or 3 to get to this point already, which is probably just enough to hope to get through to the end of the asteroid field. If the player enters the asteroid field with no power-ups, then they will find it extremely difficult, and if the player has gained 6 or 7 power-ups, they might even find the craft is too fast to navigate the meteor storm, and that's certainly not helpful. The player can also collect extra points as well. You can see me collecting those round points icons in the meteor storm, and money is also available as well in the form of notes, red notes, which we can pick up, which come at random. If the player has collected ×2 an X5 icon, then money and points will appear more often in the asteroid field, and the skulls as well. If you collect the skulls, the asteroids will change colour, which shows you the colour of the skull which you have yet to collect. So here we go, this is halfway through the asteroid field. The asteroids, the meteors, are getting thick and fast now, and the player will really have to be on their toes. One tip I'll definitely recommend is to keep an eye on the very top of the screen, ignore the bottom, and just watch the asteroids falling from the top, and hopefully the reactions of the player will manoeuvre that craft through the meteor storm as they appear. So coming to the end, the player has all their fingers and toes crossed that the asteroid field is going to end at this point, and they will gain a super bonus and a lot of money if they do complete the asteroid field. I've collected a little bit of money, but that's certainly not enough, and colliding with the asteroid fields does not lose a life, but it certainly loses the chance to gain that super bonus. So here we go, continuing on with the level. I've still got the shield, but I've just used the shield up, collecting those bonuses. The armour, should I say. Armour can be picked up. It can be also bought in the shop for 600 credits, or if the player has 4 lives and they buy an extra life, that will be turned into armour. And of course, armour enables the player to survive one hit, and so they can run into a hail of missiles and pick up any bonuses that they collect. Or otherwise, armour makes sure that we retain a good weapon all the way through to the end. And since we spent that 500 credits on the super weapon, that armour upgrade has meant, even though we've lost that, we've managed to retain the super weapon. And the other bonus item I picked up there is called the scoop. By running into the enemies with the scoop, they will act as sidearms, so they will help us fire at the other enemies. And if we should get hit with a number of side-armed enemies, we can survive 2 hits if we collect those with the scoop. So scooped enemies will also act as armour for us, but they will only hang around for about 4 levels or until the next warp, and then the scooped enemies will disappear and we'll have to manage. I've collected the scoop again. Let's see if I can pick up any enemies. No, I decided to blow those up just in case. You might notice that the letters appearing by the side there spell extra, E-X-T-R and A. I'm just looking for an E there so I can gain an extra life, which would put me up to 4. And again, any extra lives bought in the shop after 4 will give us the armour upgrade, which we definitely need. And any letters collected beyond those will give us a money pickup, which all money helps certainly in the shop. So let's just get rid of these sub-bosses, which is quite easy actually with the super weapon, before we go on to the next bonus round. And as I say, destroying all those enemies in the bonus round will also give you lots of score and lots of pickups. But if you destroy all of those, you will gain the 10,000 plus a 10,000 small bonus, a perfect bonus. So always worth doing that. And then continuing with the levels. Again, after every warp we'll find the shop, and it's important to collect those coins for the shop, but I don't have that many coins, so I'm simply going to buy an extra bullet upgrade. Every bullet counts in this game. If you can defend yourself by attack or defense, then certainly go for that. I've run out of defensive measures. I didn't want to pick up that triple shoot, or else that would have degraded my weaponry all the way down to the triple shoot again, so let's not get that. And another thing I will point out is sometimes there is a safe place to hide on the bottom of the screen, so that the player can avoid those initial bullets firing down from the enemies. And to begin with, the player can simply remain in the centre bottom of the screen or run into the side to avoid the bulk of the firepower before the enemies line up to be shot down at the top of the screen. And sometimes the player will find more bonuses if the player waits until they've all lined up in a formation, rather than shooting those enemies as they appear on the screen and head down the screen. And look at this, at complete random, a pirate ship, also known as the cash sucker or a thief ship, will appear and steal all the credits you've managed to gain in the bank. And it takes a really powerful weapon to blow that thing up there. I have the super shot, which has enabled me to collect over 1,500 credits, which will certainly be used in the next shop, which will appear after this kamikaze section there. It takes quite a powerful weapon actually to get rid of these kamikazes at this stage, and the player will certainly find as the levels go on, the firepower will certainly have to be increased to get through the enemies quickly and efficiently. If the player is killed, they will be knocked down a level of firepower and a level of bullet and a level of speed. So let's just get that plasma weapon there. That's the best thing I can afford with that kind of money. So yeah, if the player dies, they will be knocked down a level of firepower and speed. So for that reason, firepower is definitely worth spending the cash on in the shop. So this is what the plasma weapon looks like. I'm not using auto fire at the moment. This is just with normal fire on the normal joystick, and the plasma weapon is just as powerful probably as the single firepower on the first level. By the time you get to this stage, you really do need a great weapon to get through those enemies, and not much money coming down from those guys at the moment. Silver coins are only worth 10 credits each if you pick those up, but certainly worth spending that money to get us a good weapon. And now that we have 4 lives, we should be looking towards gaining that extra armour or a scoop, which means if we get hit, our weapon won't be degraded. And there's nothing worse in this game than getting a super weapon like this only to get hit like this and we find our weapon is being degraded. If we have the plasma, then that's not so bad, because our weapon degrade goes down to the fireballs, which again is a great weapon even on this single shoot mechanism that I'm playing on at the moment. But if we should get hit after this, we'll go down to the quad weapon, which isn't so great. This is what automatic fire button looks like if we should turn on the auto fire on the joystick there. But with normal fire like this, the player will only be able to rapid fire half the number of bullets that the joystick auto fire will have given us. And if we don't have joystick auto fire, we can actually pick up an auto fire unit within the game, which has the quirk of launching all your bullets in one big lump. So sometimes buying the auto fire isn't recommended unless the player has a lot of bullet upgrades. And in fact, the double shoot with 10 or 15 bullet upgrades and the auto fire unit is quite a powerful weapon, as is the triple shot. but the quad shot is a weak weapon in this game. I remember in the ordinary ECS version, the 2.6B version, the quad fire was quite a meaty weapon actually, and that's been downgraded for the AGA version. But comparing this to the ECS, I'd definitely say the graphics have moved up a stage in development, and Warblade, which we saw earlier on, definitely had better graphics than this. But perhaps this is as good as they could ever do on the Amiga. The sound effects are also terrific. I love the voiceovers of the woman on this AGA version, an Australian woman pointing out the weapons upgrades and the bonus pickups that we've collected. I remember on the earlier versions that was actually a voice robot, and on the Warblade that's a kind of a mechanical woman's voice. But collecting those tokens will give us a visual as well as an audio cue, so the graphics and the sound are great in this game, and the playability is also terrific. Apart from the speed aspect, which is building up from the beginning on this normal level, the player will find upgrading their ship will mean this game is highly playable. And here we are, this is the first end of stage boss. This appears after stage 25, and this ship must be blown away, and avoiding these mega missiles that the thing was firing towards us. This is going to be my doom, since I've got 0 lives left and our weapon has gone down to the triple shoot. Once you start losing those weapons and speed upgrades, this game really does descend into hell, so it won't be long before you die as soon as you start losing those great weapons. But let's check it out. This is the high score table, 3rd highest. My highest scores is probably about 8 million in the easy mode, and probably about 2 million on hard. So that's rather a weak score from me, but let's just show you a few other options in this game. If I pick up the green skull and the red skull there, not only will that multiply the availability of bonuses and collectibles in the asteroid field, if I pick up the blue skull, the final skull, that will give me a weapons upgrade, and because I had the quad fire, I got moved up to the fireballs. Ordinarily, if you have triple shoot or double shoot or single shoot, you'll go up to the super weapon by picking up those skulls, and by collecting the scoop and picking up those side arms, we can tool up our fireballs and make that even more impactful on those enemies, and extra bonuses will be gained by blasting those guys. So fireballs, definitely a great weapon. But even with the fireballs, look at this. This is the beam blaster ship, and even though we have fireballs and it looks like 7 or 8 bullet upgrades, I've actually wasted a shield, some armor there, trying to kill that thing, and I still haven't managed to do it even with the fireballs. So that ship is rock solid. You will get an egg gem worth 10,000 points if you manage to blow up that beam blaster. But look at this, even with the money ship and the super weapon, it doesn't always guarantee you'll get the money, and it doesn't always guarantee that you'll be able to destroy those guys. And these warp malfunctions can also be deadly as well if you don't have the firepower to get rid of these enemies. There can be any number of warp destruction enemies on the screen at the same time, maybe 1, 2 or 3, or any number up to about 89 enemies can appear on screen at once. So again, having a big meaty weapon will be an advantage. And again, if you collect all those rank markers, you will go up a rank, which will give you a multiple score at the end of the game. But in Deluxe Galaga, even the time limit is a factor, and each level will give the player about 2 minutes to complete the level. If they don't complete each level within 2 minutes, they will get Hurry Up ship, which is this, and Hurry Up will appear on the screen. The Hurry Up ship, also known as the Destroyer, will fire homing missiles, homing rockets at the player, and they will start off firing maybe 2 or 3 homing rockets, but that will increase the longer you take on the level, and the player will be able to pick up extra time as well, extra time drops, which will appear periodically. It's actually quite a rare item. But look at this, I did have triple shoot, now I'm on double shoot, thanks to being blown up on this level. But if we should allow the Hurry Up ship, the Destroyer, to appear 8 times, that will reveal another spacecraft known as the Money Ship, which is this one you can see here, the blue and red, and I've been destroyed before I've got anywhere near it. The Money Ship, again, is a hard ship to destroy, particularly with this weedy single fire, single shoot that I've managed to get. And the Hurry Up ship is firing a torrent of missiles to blow me up before I even get there. But if you can blow up this Money Ship, similar to blowing up the pirate ship, that will fill the screen with coins for you to fill your bank account all the way up to the top. And even though it's a real pain in the ass to blow that thing up, a tremendous amount of cash can be gained by doing that. Unfortunately, I've blown myself up before I've gained hardly any cash whatsoever, so that's pathetic. And just look at this. This is the mirror icon, the mirror pickup, and even though my screen grabber isn't managing to grab both ships at the same time, you saw the ghost ship pass straight through the money bomb, and that's certainly not what I needed on that level. So that can be difficult if you pick that up. The mirror, there's also a reverse icon as well, which acts as drunk mode, which reverses the controls. And so playing the game with reverse controls is difficult, as you can imagine. So you might be able to attain by now that there is an extreme number of pickups available in this game, maybe even 20 different types. There are at least 3 different types of enemy large ships, as well as the mother ships, as well as the sub-bosses, and an endless supply of enemy drones as well. So there certainly is variety in this game. You never know how a play is going to turn out, whether it's going to turn out with lots and lots of pickups to pick up, or sometimes the game doesn't even give you many pickups and gives you weak pickups, and so the player can either find themselves getting very, very far in this game, or actually nowhere in this game, all depending on the pickups that they pick up. And so there are many different routes through this game, lots of different tactics the player can choose to employ. But for me, the most important aspect is to gain cash, and my favourite method of gaining cash is to complete the meteor storm, which you can see I'm just managing to avoid my way to the end of. And of course, when you complete the meteor storm, you will gain a tremendous points bonus, and you'll also gain cash. You'll gain 1,000 credits for completing the meteor storm without holding down the fire button, or if you hold down the fire button to speed the meteor storm up all the way to the end, you'll gain a maximum of 2,500 cash credits to spend at your leisure in the shop. And certainly anything above 1,000 credits before the plasma weapon is certainly a great start. But all too often that cash sucker comes in and steals all our money away. With this weedy weapon, there's no way I can retaliate and get all that cash back, which would be an option if I had the bigger weapons at my disposal. And then the money bomb as well is a third way of gaining significant cash in this game, and maybe the hardest part is to go in for the most valuable coins and hoovering those up. And a fourth way, you can probably gain some cash if you enter the memory station. If the player finds an XC, a pink XC, that will multiply any cash in the bank by at least double, or maybe triple or quadruple score. And I've certainly had thousands of cash by finding the XC icon and picking that up. And the review scores for this game: 4.5 out of 5 in AP December 1994. It got 95% in the 1 February 95, and it got 100% in Amiga Computing, the US edition. So mega scores for Deluxe Galaga. So thank you for viewing my play guide, and I'll see you again pretty soon with another one. Cheers.